Dodgers players Trayce Thompson and Austin Barnes celebrated after defeating the Giants at Dodger Stadium last month to clinch the National League West title. Richard MacksonUSA Today Sports, via Reuters. Good morning. Want to get California Today by email? Here's the sign up. Today's introduction comes from Connor Doherty, a reporter based in the Bay Area. The San Francisco Giants were tied for the worst record in baseball this year, so their fans are free agents for the baseball playoffs. I'm a die-hard Giants fan, and this year I'm thinking about doing the unthinkable, rooting for the Dodgers. The Giants-Dodgers rivalry is as old as baseball. Its roots stretch back to the 1850s and officially began in New York in 1890. In years when the Giants don't make the playoffs, fans are supposed to adhere to a policy whereby they can root for any team they like, so long as they root against the Dodgers. Let's go through some of the non-Dodger options. In the National League we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Chicago Cubs, and the Washington Nationals. In the American League we have the Houston Astros, the Cleveland Indians, the Boston Red Sox, and the New York Yankees. Those are all fine teams from cities that I've been to and like. But for anyone besides die-hard fans, sports allegiance is rooted in place. You're pulling for people from places you are from or have a connection to. And none of those teams are in California. Ever since 1958, when the Giants and Dodgers moved west, the teams have become a proxy for the NorCal-SoCal rivalry. And today, with Hollywood moving toward Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley moving toward Hollywood, the rivalry just doesn't seem all that epic anymore. I think it's still there, but I don't think it's anywhere like it was in the 80s, said Andrew Goldblatt, author of The Giants and the Dodgers: 4 Cities, 2 Teams, 1 Rivalry. Politically and economically, LA and San Francisco have a lot more in common with each other than they do with the rest of the country. According to the Census Bureau, about 15,000 people move from LA to San Francisco each year, and about 17,000 move from San Francisco to LA. Californians go back and forth, so tonight I'm going to turn on the TV and see if my allegiance can do the same. If only for a few weeks. Do you think we should keep old rivalries intact or throw them aside and root for whatever team is from California? Tell us today at NewTimes.com. California Online. Please note we regularly highlight articles on news sites that have limited access for non-subscribers. No manifesto. No Facebook post. The Las Vegas gunman left only cryptic clues, and agents are under intense pressure to identify a motive. The New York Times. Republicans in Congress shouldn't think that sacrificing bump stocks will even begin to suffice. They should not be allowed to delay effective legislation any longer. Opinion. The New York Times. A man was led away during a raid by immigration authorities in Riverside in June. Melissa Little for the New York Times. Gov. Jerry Brown signed legislation to make California a so-called sanctuary state, tightening regulations over how much law enforcement can do to help federal immigration authorities. The Associated Press. It's a bold experiment. We don't know how many people will be stoned, how long, the governor said in response to a question about legalizing marijuana. Rolling Stone. Representative Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, faced a call to step down from a fellow Democratic congresswoman. San Francisco. Chronicle. Harvey Weinstein apologized for behavior that he said has caused a lot of pain. Jean-Baptiste Lacroix. Agence France-Presse. Getty Images. An investigation by The Times found that numerous women have accused the mega-producer Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment, and he's paid at least 8 settlements. The New York Times. Lena Dunham, Amber Tamblyn and Rose McGowan were among those who reacted to the allegations. The New York Times. A murder trial that has captivated Bakersfield for weeks resulted in a guilty verdict against Sabrina Limon, who was accused in the killing her husband. Prosecutors said she conspired with a lover. The Bakersfield Californian. Since 2014, the number of homeless children in California has jumped 20%. Perhaps nowhere is the disparity of wealth more extreme than in Santa Barbara County. EdSource. Sarah Silverman in the offices for her new political variety show, I Love You, America, in Los Angeles. Brinson Banks for the New York Times. With Sarah Silverman's new political variety show, I Love You, America, the stand-up comic aims to unite red and blue. But can television really change minds? The New York Times. Amid rising rents and minimum wages, San Francisco is losing its quality, inexpensive restaurants. Bloomberg. And finally, The remains of the St. Francis Dam, which burst just before midnight on March 12, 1928, and killed more than 400 people. Associated Press on a March night 89 years ago, the St. Francis Dam buckled in a remote canyon north of Los Angeles. The breach let loose a wall of water that barreled through the towns of Piru, Fillmore, and Santa Paula on a 54-mile trip to the Pacific, leveling homes and killing more than 400 people. The St. Francis catastrophe stands as one of the most searing tragedies in California history. That's why congressional members from California are pushing a measure that would create a national memorial and monument at the site of the former dam in the Sierra Pelona Mountains. Senators Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein introduced the bill on Thursday after it won approval in the House. The dam's collapse had an impact on the entire nation, with news of the tragedy appearing in newspapers as far away as Maine, Ms. Feinstein said in a statement. The St. Francis Dam, circa 1927, before it burst. Los Angeles Public Library. The senators said the memorial would serve an additional purpose as a reminder of the dangers of deficient infrastructure. St. Francis was a wake-up call that ushered in higher standards of dam building. But decades later, as the spillway failure at Lake Oroville demonstrated in February, many of California's dams are now confronting the stresses of age and extreme weather. Joseph D. Countryman, a former head of reservoir operations for the Army Corps of Engineers, told The Times that California was the nation's best dam builder. But expertise only goes so far in the course of rearranging nature. When you build a dam, you are playing God, he said. And it's tough to be God. California Today goes live at 6 a.m. Pacific Time weekdays. Tell us what you want to see today at NewTimes.com. The California Today columnist, Mike McFate, is a third-generation Californian, born outside Sacramento and raised in San Juan Capistrano. He lives in Los Osos. Follow him on Twitter. California Today is edited by Julie Bloom, who grew up in Los Angeles and graduated from UC Berkeley.